Hi, you're listening to the Flow State Fishing Podcast.
What do you mean?
There's fucking 2 Sheilas in a boat.
Listen to me. Every time.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh.
We're back. Seal's broken. I can't stop pissing.
Yeah, mine's broken now too, so.
I'm on a fucking cup of rum and a bottle of beer. A set.
Well, that's why you've gone 3 times and I've gone once. I'm only on rum.
This is true. Yeah, I think I'd learned something. Ikijime. What did I just say?
Well, I'm not Japanese, but let's go Ikijime.
Correct us if we're wrong. What is it, man?
Well, yeah, I have to do a shout out to Chris Bolton Fishing because I've learnt a bit about him, yeah.
I've been trying to get him on here. I messaged him because I really want to talk to him because he supplies fish to some really high-end restaurants who, got one of them, like Fish Butchery, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but I would love to talk to Josh Nolan.
Oh, he'd have some...
That would be epic.
Awesome information.
Yeah. Whole Fish Cookbook. I was preaching about it a few months ago. Epic. I read it front to back. I've got to give it to you, actually.
Yeah, actually, I might have to buy one, I think. I've been meaning to do it for a while, but...
I'm just checking if you read my message. He's been, active on Instagram, which I'm like, oh, fuck, is he off me?
I actually got to know Chris through a mate of mine.
He hasn't read my shit. Oh, no. Speaking of Chris.
Another Chris.
The fucking bad Chris is here.
Hi.
What do you want, cunt?
Be involved.
Getting involved. What tin is that? 3, 4, 5?
I bought the wrong ones the other day. I had a podcast when Nathan Cleesby was in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's these rum-flavoured ginger beer.
They're on special to the top.
Fuck off. They were on special. But I was like, oh, I've never tried these before. What breed is it? Brookvale Union ginger beer. They're expensive. They're like $36 a 6-pack. And there's other one was on they're not even joking. They're like that.
Wow.
$36 or $33. And this other one was like rum. And I was like, ooh, rum. I like rum. So I bought them in. He wouldn't drink them. We had one sip and then talked about it. He was off.
They were way cheaper, those Brookvale ones. Because I know heaps of people who are loving them, but...
They're delicious. They're fucking...
COVID tax.
Delicious. Yeah, he hasn't read my message, by the way.
No, that's all right. Well, shout out to him for some of the help with that. Like I used to always do it diving, obviously. You always brain spike your fish with your dive knife after you've shot it.
So what is Ikijime first?
So I guess if you're looking at it from a humane way to dispatch of a fish quickly and with as little pain as possible, you basically inserting a sharp object, whether that's like a spike or a knife or whatever, and destroying the brain, instantly. And it's a bit confronting probably the first time you do it, but I definitely prefer to, as soon as the fish is out of the water, or if you're in the water diving, as soon as you've got, hold of it, then before it gets too stressed, you're basically killing the fish instantly by spiking the brain.
We'll go there first, but what does that achieve based on quality of fillet?
So I believe, and obviously if the Japanese do it, so it's good enough for me. It essentially kills off everything off the fish, and then the theory is that it sucks that blood that from the flesh into the organs, because obviously the body's first reaction is to try and keep the organs alive.
Yeah.
So the last signal the brain sends before, as it's getting that trauma from the spike, is to send all of the blood to the organs. So what that does is, the blood in the meat is what taints the flavour. So then you get a nice clean fillet. But Chris's advice was to clip the gills before spiking the brain so that you get the bleeding process. Because once you brain spike, the signal's going to, the heart to keep pumping and everything are no longer there. So if you clip the gills first and then brain spike immediately after, then you're getting, it's still got that signal for the heart
blood to pump.
Yeah, because you want to try and expel that blood from the from the body of the fish, because obviously, the organs can only take so much. But I've noticed a big difference in quality, and I think it was something that I did when I was diving. Like, I noticed a difference with the fish. I take notice of little things.
You converted me 100%. Like, that little bit. It's not that much more effort.
No,
really. Like, to be honest, because we were. What were we doing? We were like, in our defence, we were hooking up like flat out. But we were chucking fish in the live well, necked, so they were like in the same temperature water, so they were bleeding like stuck pigs. We brain spiked them first, then put them in there.
I think we clipped brain spike and then into the live well that was full of water. It was pumping. You had the bilge, the live well pump on.
Circulating fresh water.
And that's excellent, because then when you put them in the esky, there's no blood, nothing. They're clean, beautiful, clean fish.
Yeah.
And the idea of gill clipping, like, obviously the gills have a lot of blood in them. So that's, instead of cutting the throat of the fish, particularly like if you're, say, doing a couple-day trip and the fish are going to be spending quite a bit of time in the esky.
Yeah.
When you gill clip them, you're not cutting into the meat. Like, the meat hasn't, like, the surface of the flesh hasn't been broken. So sitting in, a bit of blood or water or whatever isn't going to...
Ice slurry is a thing too, eh? Like saltwater ice slurry. It's almost impossible, but like it's a thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've started experimenting with it a bit. Like, I've taken out like the old 5 litre blue Coleman...
Daddy cool.
The worker bloody water jug. So I've taken that out and just filled it up, and then tried freezing ice in my deep freeze. But it's difficult. Like, I think the ice slurry is the ultimate. Like, that's how you get that beautiful, clean finish. But because we're coming home and just knocking the sides off, we're not selling fish whole, and you want that presentation like the commercial guys do.
Chris,
it's different.
You all need to have a look at this. Like, I think it's just Chris Bolton Fishing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's like a blue logo on his Insta handle profile picture. Have a look at some of the bait, like, we call it bait, but like people eat that shit, like garfish, mullet, and things like that. They look pristine. They look like they're alive, but still, like, it's unreal. Like, the
quality of from bait through to your bigger fish. It's just fantastic quality. So that's what really inspired me. Like, when my friend put me in touch with him and I looked at his Instagram and stuff, I just went, wow, that's impressive. And you spend so much time, effort, money, to go out fishing, and you really want to get a product that's perfect. So I'm probably on the extreme end of it with trying to keep fish in good quality when I go to eat them. So I always, like, as soon as the fish gets up, instantly, like, I have 2 sets of snips. So I've got just some cheap ones, but I actually got a pair of those Black Panther ones that I've been telling you about.
Remember those? I had those red ones, I think.
They're so good. I've got a pair now. A mate of mine in Charters Towers found them in a store there for me, so he grabbed me one. There was only one left on the shelf, so they must be pretty popular. So I just instantly clip the gills, brain spike. I've got 2 gill clippers, 2 brain spikes in my boat at all times. And unfortunately, I don't have I do have a live whale, but I normally have live fish in there, like live bait. So I don't have the luxury like you've got with the twin live whales. But
I fucking hate them. I'd rather just store tackle trays in there, but the cunts get wet.
They're handy though.
One's handy, like, I'll digress, but barra fishing, so fishing a single spot, and you get a fish out of there, like finger mark, same principle. If you put them in that live well, like, you're less of a risk letting them go and they go straight back down in that snag and spook the fucking lot of everything.
Yeah.
Plus, like, Gold Coast style photos, holding 2 fish in one each hand.
Yeah, I don't have that luxury. I normally got it full of yakkers or herring or something like that. So so after I've done the brain spike, the gill clip brain spike, I put it straight into the esky, and I don't mind having a bit of blood in the esky. Like, I never really have my esky for days on end. Like I normally fill it the next day or something like that. And so I put them in there. And I think one of the other advantages as well of brain spiking and gill clipping, instead of cutting the throat and just throwing it in the esky or a killing pen, is that you don't have the fish slapping around on a hard chunk of ice or
stressing
the side of the esky.
out.
Yeah, so you've got it like they're instantly, that's it, they're out of it. And, you know, it takes a bit of...
It's probably more humane too.
It is, yeah. Well, that's the whole point behind
ethical.
it. You know, people wanting to know a lot more about the food that they eat and where it's come from, how it's been handled.
Well, at the end of the day, like, it's a win-win, because the humanitarian people are like, oh, the fish is killed like instantly, plus the people who care about the quality of fillet, the fish aren't stressed.
That's right.
To a point. Like, they just die, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same principles applied in beef. You know, there's mobile abattoirs now, so that instead of the cattle getting transported, you know, long distances, getting stressed out, you know, it all happens on farm. So, you know, there's the proof's in the pudding. Like, people are doing it outside of fish too. Yeah. But I think it's all in the handling. Like, I like to bring the temperature down to the fish as soon as possible, and that's why I don't mind it bleeding out in the esky. And I try to have.
But do they? Doesn't it clot? Like when it's cold? Like, if they go into the same. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying. Like, I found they bleed better when you put them in their own similar, temperature water. Yeah. That they bleed like stuck pigs, and then you put them on ice. Yeah. Because the moment you put them on the ice and they chill, they're blood clots. Yeah. And holds. I don't know. I
agree. Yeah, I think it does. It's for me, it's probably a bit of a 1%er. Yeah. Because like the fish, I'm like the bigger fish, like the big nannies and stuff. Like I let them like. They're a bit to handle. Yeah. And by the top, like after I've clipped the gills and everything, because that's the first thing that I do. Like, I'll sort of let it wash over. A lot of people go, "Oh, you don't want to put blood in the water or whatever," but you know, there's a
sharks there anyway.
If they're there, they're there. So you know, I just let them bleed out, and then I'll put them in the esky, because I know the bigger fish will hold a lot more blood. Like if you gill clip a trout, you can chuck that thing in the box. Like putting it in the water is probably not going to make much of a difference, because they don't pump out a lot of blood. Yeah. Like something that's like a bigger fish, or you know, a pelagic like a mackerel or a wahoo or something like that, probably a little bit different. So yeah, I think depending on the fish species, it probably makes a bit more of a difference. But that is like the way that you do it, where you've got that live well. That's primo. If you can chuck them in there, keep that water circulating, let all the blood flow out, and you don't have that mess in your esky at the end, which is
I'm pretty anal about like blood in me, filth in me boat, eh?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, fiberglass white boat. I got a bloody plate boat, mate. We don't care. We just high pressure clean it, and she's good to go. But I think putting them in the esky, get the flesh down to temperature as quick as you can. Like if you can do the slurry, like, you know, saltwater ice bricks with salt water from the ocean is the ultimate, but you know, you need a lot of ice. Yeah. I just don't have a big enough boat to sort of hold the ice quantity, so I just have fresh water, but they don't sit in the fresh water for long anyway. But then once I get home, you know, fillet, bone, vac seal. Like vac seal is a real game changer for me. I was just using
it's not environmentally friendly, but it preserves your fillets. It stops so much wastage.
Yes, I think the wastage that you save is far outweighs everything. And
I'll shoot off the hip. I reckon 12 months. If you prep your fillets, we jumped a step. We skipped the brine.
Oh, the brining.
Yeah. But if you prep your fillets properly when you cry back, I reckon 12 months in the freezer.
I wouldn't even argue with that. I actually had...
Do you reckon, Chris? 12 months?
12 months vac sealed fish.
For it to still taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's properly vac sealed, like you've got a really nice seal.
Surely how you defrost it as well would help.
Yep.
Yeah.
I reckon. Yep.
Because I had some fish vac sealed that was about 6 months old, perhaps. I reckon it was the same. Like I was comparing it to something that, you know, when I used to use just clip, you know, your double clip bags or whatever they are. I reckon the stuff that I used to have in there for 2 weeks and then defrost and eat, it was the one that I had in there in a vac seal bag for 6 months was the same quality. Like it was just as good. But brining is definitely, like I think a big role that brining plays is also taking like any scales and shit off the fillet that you don't want.
So you get your fish home, right? You've brain spiked and you've done all that. You prep your fish properly. They chill down properly. You get home. You pull your fish out. You fillet them. What's the next process? Because you've completely converted me. Like I thought I was pretty good with looking after me fish and fillets, but like at the end of the day, like I look back and I'm like, here's a big word, ready? Lackadaisical. Lackadaisical, Chris. He's writing it
Even
down.
I'm going to have to Google that.
Lackadaisical. Google it.
Lackadaisical.
Google it and then it's a fucking word, I'm telling you.
It's not Mary Poppins.
It's a fucking word. True God. Lackadaisical. I don't know how to spell it.
Know how to say it, but not how to spell it.
Basically.
Lacking enthusiasm and determination. Carelessly lazy.
Carelessly
Lazy.
That's it. So like you're like
Well, you're none the wiser. You thought,
This is
all right,
true.
I'm doing the best job I
salubrious.
can.
Look up salubrious. No, what's that?
The first thing in Google is lackadaisical, a real word.
Is lackadaisical a real word? You just said it wrong. Or was that how it was spelled?
I was asking that same question at the start.
It's 100% a real word, like salubrious. Salubrious.
Do you say synergy a lot at work?
No, I just like picking big words like wheelbarrow
Big
and
words.
corrugated iron.
Corrugated iron.
Just makes me sound smart. Fucking hell.
Why not?
Yeah, so like
Might as well own it.
completely bite off more than you can chew, and chew like fuck is my life motto.
Yeah, well, you've definitely bitten off enough, and you're going to be chewing for a while. It's a long-winded process.
Yeah,
like
you converted me.
you take the sides off, bone them. I normally try and cut out as much of the bloodline as possible. Like you can actually pinch the fillet, and if you've got a really
Can
nice
you do it with any
sharp
fillet,
knife-
any species? Like
Pretty much, yeah. Like I cut a little like strip where the backbone is, and then or the pin bone, and then I just like pinch the fillet a bit and run the sharp knife along the bloodline, and it takes
anyone
it out.
who's filleted a fish knows where that fucking is.
Yeah.
Surely.
So I think once you got that, like I actually like to cut my pieces into what I'm going to cook because I eat a lot of fish and I want it to be a quick meal because I don't have a lot of time.
That's the biggest problem with me. So before we started doing this, or before I started doing this shit with you, or because of you, I would knock sides off, skin on everything, dry, cry back, and then you'd be like, fuck me dead, I got to pull that fish out, defrost the motherfucker, skin it, pull the bones out, trim it up, probably over or under allocate how much fish I need because of what I pulled out for the people I need to feed. And then I'm like, oh, is it really worth it?
Yeah, it's more effort when you go to do it, but I think if you do it while you're fishy and you're in the zone, you can knock it out pretty quick. Like I'll after I take the pin bone out and I take the bloodline out, I'll cut it into pieces. I don't want to like there's parts of the fish up towards like the back of the head where it gets quite thick, and I try and cut it on a bit of an angle to keep it thin because if I flour it or crumb it, like the thicker it is, the more chance you've got of burning it.
So what's a brine do, by the way? Like,
well, I mean, you're putting a coating over the fish.
what is the brine?
The brine is just seawater, basically.
Seawater and a bit of brown sugar?
Yeah, you can put brown sugar in if you want, but I only just put seawater and a block of ice. That's it. And I've started like using my salt water that I've frozen.
Yeah, because you bring that bottle home, eh?
Yeah, so I bring that home. So I bring a 5 litre jug home with seawater, and then in the deep freeze, I've got a block of ice of actual seawater that I've frozen up, and I stick that inside the brine. And basically, I just, as I'm filleting, I throw the stuff in there. It brings the pieces of fish or whatever down to cool temperature. I chuck them into a strainer, and then just sort of wiggle the strainer around to get as much off it. And then I put it like I've got a designated towel where I pat the fish down and get any of the moisture off it. And you'll feel it's still really slimy after you take it out. It just tastes
like
excess.
sticky.
Yeah, sticky and slimy from that brine because it is salt water. And then I put it into the vac seal bag, make sure that there's a bit of a gap around the bag. and I weigh it, of course.
Yeah.
And then I...
Because you're like real big on divvying it up evenly.
Because I know how much I eat. Like I do half kilo bags and I know I get 3 meals out of that. So I get dinner and then a bit of leftover lunch for 2 people. So even though probably 4 meals technically, but half a kilo is perfect for me. And I mean, and that way, like if I have people over and I want to do fish, I know, okay, well, I've got X amount of people, then I'll do X amount of fish.
2 or 3 people,
Yeah, so it's always around that 500 grams that I weigh it out at, and then I've got the date and I've got what fish it is, and it's a process. But when you get in, you get it done, you put all hands on deck, and if you've got people who know what they're actually doing from the get-go, that makes life a lot quicker.
Yep.
But it's, I think the next level on that is if you were to get a chamber sealer, because then you don't even need
You've been banging on about one of these for ages.
They're just so expensive. They're exponentially expensive compared to a vacuum sealer, but the ability to not have to worry about liquid in the bag, that's just, there's so much mucking around.
That's a fuck around. But paper towel, like fold up bit of paper towel.
Yep.
So we're talking, are you talking about the same thing I'm talking about? So I
was on paper towel, but you use a lot of that shit. That's why I use the...
I'm fucking terrible with the plastic vac seal bags. Like I need to get to a setup where like my bags are measured and I just cut them off because fuck me dead I waste some plastic. And I am not a littering person. I fucking hate misuse of plastics and stuff. But
I'm a tight wog. So I am OCD with that stuff. I actually have
the scent.
I have a piece of timber that's marked out with the sizes, and I'll stick the vac sealer. It sort of butts up hard up against the timber, and then I put the vac like I buy the whole roll, uncut, whatever. You can buy pre-cut bags if you're lazy, but it costs more money. So I buy the rolls in bulk. I stick it in the vac sealer and just use the seal only function, and then I pull it out to the measurement that I want. And if you've got a nice sharp pair of scissors, you can just go straight through it, and then you're done. You made your bag. And I know I do mine about 25 centimeters, and that's the perfect size because you want to have a bit of a gap. Like they reckon 7 centimeters gap around whatever you're vac sealing from top to bottom and around the sides. So that's their general thing. So I do 25 centimeter bags, and then to try and reduce my wastage, any fish bags that I've cut, I actually
reuse like bait,
I rinse them in like soapy water when I'm cleaning up after dinner, dry them out.
Don't be laughing at this.
And then
it's environmentally friendly, Chris.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
But it's worth it. Like I vac seal all my bait too. I'm OCD with that.
Yeah.
I vac seal everything.
The shit this gun does, like I was off it and then was exposed to it and was like, because I don't bait fish a lot, but his bait when it comes out of the vac seal bag that's been in his freezer for months is like fucking basically eat it. And the fillet quality is next level. But he's basically like a cane farmer's son, but can't pass the seeds out of strawberry jam.
It's true. You got to keep them.
Let's do strawberry jam trees. Yeah. See,
it works though. It
actually does. Like it's a fuck around, but it's not even that much of a fuck around really.
Once you get into it, it gets faster.
The system that you've got at your place with the filleting table and the ice bowls and the vacuum station and everything, if you've got 2 or 3 dudes on a reef trip and you come back, you've got it done in a couple of hours.
Oh yeah, 3 hours for like, I've worked it out. If we've got like 25 to 30 fish. 3 hours roughly.
What took us 3 hours, and that was clean the boat, proper detail clean the boat, and do the fish.
Yeah.
For both of us.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that bad. And I highly, like people would be like, fuck that, I couldn't be bothered. Do it once. Just do it once and you'll be like, holy fuck, this fish tastes like an orgasm in my mouth.
And the thing I like about the vac sealing too, like I
literally, Chris, you're a horny little fucker, eh? Anytime anything sexual comes up, this cunt's like half dry hump in the air, getting around like a half frigged off dog.
He's getting around it.
Do it. When you get out and you stop mowing lawns, and you can come fishing.
Mate, you're talking about brining, mate. I've got the edge trimmer that I have.
No, This cunt is mad on lawns, man. I've been like backing over the corner of the driveway on this side when I leave here, like for the last few days.
He's been doing your lawn.
I'm trying to cut a track in there every time. Like he's got it manicured that well that it just returns back to its natural fucking status.
You're not that
can't
bloke
kill it.
that told ScoMo to get off his reseeded lawn this week, did you?
He would 100%.
That
If
would be you,
ScoMo
though.
had a party on his fucking
That would
head.
be you.
Oh. I told him he had like weeds in it, which he does. He had weed. He did, man. Look at the face in him. I told him he had weeds on his footpath, and like give me the biggest stink eye. It's true. Like if I was a customer, which I'm not,
No.
because fuck, I'm not giving you any money.
He comes to the charity involvement.
Well, you might have to keep me close because I can get agricultural chemicals.
Can ya?
Yes.
Boost that lawn. Grow that cane.
We'll clean all of that bloody nutgrass out of there.
Fucking nutgrass.
And fucking prickles.
Zoysian, mate.
Zoysia? Oh, that's not cheap. That's
See, I don't know what any of this shit means, man. I'll just go fishing. Fuck that. I invited Chris like 3 or 4 times. He's like, oh man, like, nah, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I got to mow my lawn Sunday morning.
Oh, God. Lawn is an excuse. That's horrible.
It's terrible. And the best part is he doesn't have a mic.
It's Wade podcast. That's what it is.
Oi, look
Yes,
at,
mate.
oi, I run this fucking show.
Yeah,
Look at
I'm
me.
the captain
Look at
now.
me. I'm the captain now.
You look at my fucking lawn when you leave and you love it.
Right.
So where were we there?
Fuck them all, mate.
The fishing, keeping your fillets mint. Yeah. Do it. Have a crack.
Definitely
Even
do it.
if you do half of that, I reckon you'll notice a difference.
Just do one fish worth. And actually, that's where I wanted to go with this. Is the talk about like Josh Nolan, like whole fish shit. Dry aging fish. You need a dry aging cabinet, which costs you like tens
A
of
lot of
thousands
money,
of fucking
yeah.
dollars. But he was on. Did you watch his MasterChef episode? Like I don't watch
Oh, I
reality
missed
TV,
it. Yeah.
but it's on YouTube. It's worth watching.
Okay.
So he goes through like, basically, Josh Nolan is the owner of Fish Butchery in Paddington in Sydney.
Yeah.
And he basically is world renowned for his basically fish dishes. Hey, like really.
Oh, just
The
it's worth a follow on Instagram. Like, I'll be honest.
pretty sure it is.
I've never tried anything that he's done, but stuff that he does with fish, I just think
It's
wow.
insane. So we're talking like a kingfish is a good example because he done that on MasterChef. And are you making another one?
I am. You up?
Yeah, go on then. Chris, you want rum?
No.
Fuck's
He's on the
sake.
ginger beer. He can't double dip. Oh, look at that lawn.
Who's that?
That's
Fuck, your mum's a good sort.
She's dead.
Jesus. Too late. Fuck me, Dad. I'm not done yet.
Video.
Oh yeah, you haven't finished.
I'm not finished yet. We just went down this little straight. I had to pause it. No one wanted to hear that shit.
I could do it if you want to. I can get on the diving thing if you want to just rack up content, or we can do it again.
No, we'll do it again. We'll talk. What I was getting at was the
Oh, you were talking about
kingfish.
Josh Nolan.
So
yeah.
we were talking about on MasterChef is the ability to use a whole fish. Basically, he does a book called the Whole Fish Cookbook, and it is 100% worth you. I think it would cost me like $35 or some shit,
it's
and it
not-
is worth every single penny. We're talking like belly flap bacon, the fat behind the eyeballs. We're talking cross sections of fish. We're talking fucking all different cuts.
Eyeballs.
Like basically breaking it up like if you were to break up a cow. Yeah, recording. Yeah, I'm recording.
Actually making sense. Go.
Yeah. I'm actually making sense. Yeah, we're talking like basically in the whole fish, like using the whole fish.
Only on certain fishes. No.
No, well,
Anything.
Yeah, right.
Chris Bolton, we didn't say this, but Chris Bolton supplies fish to Josh Nolan, correct?
Yeah, I don't think he.
Not maybe not all of them.
Sometimes, yeah, not all the time.
Chris Bolton is a line fisherman up here.
Commercial line fishing.
Commercial line fisherman. So not like a fucking dirty trolling net and dog. I'm off that shit, eh? That's old caveman horse shit. But it's true, Chris.
I don't bring either, I agree.
Do you want a mic?
No. He goes better when I'm there.
But yeah, like Chris Bolton is a line. Hand caught
line.
Yeah.
And
And
if I'm wrong, Chris.
well, when he comes on the podcast, hopefully one day.
But you should get him on about dry aging because he's started doing that.
Yeah, well, he I was talking to him a little while ago about the dry aging cabinet because I tagged him in that when we did those nannies.
Yeah.
And there was a heap of people asking me about it. And I tagged him, I tagged Josh Nyland about the book, the cookbook. And there was heaps of people like, what is Ikijime? What is brain spiking? What does it achieve? What's it go with it? And I maybe responded to 20 messages, 30 messages. And from the amount of following that I have, that's a fair bit. And yeah, like it'd be really awesome to have him on here because he understands it. And like I'm not super environmentally conscious. I sort of am, but I'm not like proper, like, I don't even know what you call it. You know, like
Heavily involved.
I'm not a minimal impact kind of guy. Like I still drive a fucking high horsepower boat down a river and shit like that and burn fuel and all that sort of jazz. But I try and minimise my like footprint as best I can without impacting my quality of life. I don't know. Maybe that's bad. Fucks me. But the ability to use like the little bit more effort that you use to process your fish, and you can get more out of your fillet for a little bit more time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's worth it or what?
It is, yeah. Well, in my head, I just thought you go to a lot of effort, and if you get if you actually catch some good fish, like, you know, why not have it so that you can enjoy them? You know, and I very, very rarely. I could probably count on one hand how many bags of fish I've wasted in the last 5 years. Like,
imagine if
rarely.
Imagine if you account for like you just knock the sides off, right? Let's go red emperor because that's the most underused fish going because they got like stupid amounts of like cheek and forehead meat, and then you've got all of that rib meat. So if you took that head off, well, the head's usable for starters, for like stocks and all that sort of shit, and all that meat like in behind the eyeballs and shit. Taking into account how much of that has gone wasted since you started fishing for that type of fish, like not that red emperor is a demersal, but like demersal species, so to speak. Like how much meat would you have wasted over time?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, like we had a really good trip on Fingermark recently, me and a mate, and yeah, the fish weren't big fish, but they were good size, between sort of 55 to 65 centimetres. And we kept all the wings, all the cheeks, like, you know, the fillets obviously, and, you know, I've filleted enough fish now that I'm pretty confident with, you know, getting as much off the fillet as possible without it leaving any behind. And yeah, just seeing some of the stuff that these guys do with the whole fish. Like I thought if I do that, like OCD, take every single ounce of flesh I can that's easy to get to.
Yeah.
But there's just so much more you can do. Like they're using the offal and all sorts of stuff to make things.
It's a hard balance because you go out like we do here and you go for a bag of 1 or 2 species. You come home and you've got, like, if you were to do it in that way, you'd be there for half a fucking day.
Yeah.
But if you were to go out, I don't know, and catch 1 yellowfin tuna or 1 big kingfish or 2 big kingfish, you know what I mean? You could come home and you could process them correctly and be done with your day in, I don't know, an hour, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, if you put it into perspective, like these guys are buying fish at a pretty high price. Like these are
Like
fish.
you're talking high-end restaurant.
Yeah, high-end restaurant. They're buying a product that weighs X amount of kilos, and they want to get the most out of that piece of product that they bought as possible. So this guy is actually, Josh Nyland's come up with a fantastic way of getting more out of his fish than, like a person would just normally knock the sides off and they're done.
Yeah.
But he's getting a lot more return off that single fish. So for, the average Joe Blow like me or you, like we could go to the nth degree to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. Like I think that, like me personally, cheeks, wings, and sides of
Wings
the fish.
is a big one. Like wings are fucking delicious.
They're really good.
If you break that brisket bone, cryovac them, and then marinate the motherfuckers, and then like I find like charcoal, like char, grilling them, peel the skin off, fucking unbelievable. Like the sweetest and head meat, like cheek meat and stuff, behind the eyeballs and shit like that, and behind the forehead, fucking the best. Like if you get more out of that section, like that'd be all you'd eat.
Oh, the finger mark cheeks I had the other night. Oh, man, they were
Did
next
you
level.
like cut them out as a cheek piece, or did you just like scrape them out?
Nah, just like I'm OCD with knives. Like I sharpen the shit out of my knives before I fillet, and I just basically run the knife. Like I know where the cheek is, I just feel it, and then I just run the knife so that it's running up flush against the bone and just scallop out the meat. And then my mate who was with me at the time, actually, I normally knock the skin off the cheek separate, but he was showing me how to keep the skin on and knock the meat off the cheek while it's still on the fish, and it's actually much easier.
Yeah, right.
But we should actually pencil in one day. We'll do it on your Instagram or something. Show you how to knock
fillet video.
Yeah, knock out. Like, there's an easy way to do the wings.
Yeah,
because they've got this sort of like overlapping bone where you've got to go over the top, under, and then around again.
Yeah, right.
And that actually allows you to sort of break that away. And there's a bit of cleaning. Like wings, I think the hardest part of the wings is actually cleaning the crap out of it. Like there's
off the inside.
Yeah, the inside edge always has like
that
a little
fat
bit
lining. That skinny fat lining is filth, eh?
along the top of the fillet,
like on the inside of the brisket, like on the belly.
yeah. If you've got a super sharp knife, it's easy to knock it out, and that's what I mean. Like you need a butcher's steel.
Yeah.
And if your knife feels like it's not doing a good enough job, just give it 20 strokes on each side, and it'll be ready to go. So that's what I'll do. Like I'll sharpen on the go if I need to.
Yeah.
I use a 7-inch, I think it's like a Martini or something like that. I bought it from New Zealand. It's a great little knife. It actually maintains its edge quite well.
Yeah.
But I've started using a Dexter knife, actually. I think it's like a 9-inch or something. It's a bit more flexible than what I like for boning. Yeah. But when I'm fillet, like that big 90+ centimetre nanny guy that we got, I'm pretty sure I use the Dexter to fillet that. And that's a knife that's actually very popular among commercial fishmongers that, knock out fish pretty frequently. Yeah. And they hold their edge quite well.
They're well priced too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I picked mine up for like $60 or something. Pretty cheap, but
Victorinox is quite well priced for quality too.
I've got a fair few Victorinox
That's
knives.
pretty much all I run, and all I've run for years, because I used to chase pigs and shoot roos commercially.
Okay. I didn't even know that. I'm learning something.
Yeah, so to a point, like as a teenager, I used to catch pigs and sell them, and then I went around with a lot of like commercial roo shooters and shit in the roo industry, and basically Victorinox was it, pretty much. Swibo, another one, but yeah, like Victorinox was the pinnacle basically of all your different knives, across from skinning, boning.
If you haven't got the Victorinox steak knives in your drawer,
how good are they?
Oh man, they stay sharp for so long. Like, I've had some there for 2 years, and they've stayed sharper than some of my Japanese ones.
People buy them fucking cheap knife sharpeners that just give your knives shoulders, like them. Them like things that you just drag your knife through that they're like a V shape. Fucking stop doing that, people. And like that. Oh, what's that thing? Clever Sharp.
Clever Sharp.
Fucking. Do you do it? You have one, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't, man.
That was a Christmas present, mate.
Put the cunt in the bin.
It sticks to the wall, mate.
They're shit. They just put shoulders on your knives. You get 3 swipes and it's blunt. And it can fuck your knife unless you want to sit on a stone for the next 6 hours to get it back right again. I'm anal with knives, eh? Like I've got knives that no one else is allowed to touch.
What stones do you use?
Depends what I'm doing, and depends how soft the knife is.
Okay.
So like really hard stones for really hard knives. So
Yeah.
like if you've got like a really stiff boner knife and that, like a stiff skinning knife, I'll use a really, really hard stone.
Okay.
Yeah. But I won't stone them all the time. I'll stone them like every handful of uses I'll stone them. But normally just steel, use them for 3 or 4 cuts, steel, use them for 3 or 4 cuts. And you find you don't have to put them on the stone as much.
Yeah.
And don't wash the cunts in a dishwasher. Fucking people do that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Do not put them in a
That's a
dishwasher.
no-no.
Don't push them in the dishwasher. Hand wash them, nice and clean. Dry them off before you put them away. Don't just put them in the rack and let them drip dry, and leave soap and shit on them. For starters,
Got to rinse it off.
you do, man, because you're removing, when you steel or stone, you're putting scratches on that blade, micro scratches, and you're exposing all of that steel to water and like basic or acidic shit, and it's gonna like get like rust and marks and all that sort of stuff.
It'll accelerate corrosion.
Basically. So I've had too many rums to like talk about that, like to talk on that level, you know.
Well, you might stone me, but I never put my skinning knife on a stone. I only ever just butcher sharp because I hate a skinning knife that's too sharp. I prefer it blunt. Well, not blunt, but not super sharp.
I guess you're talking like you're talking fish. I'm probably more talking about like roo, pig, hair.
Yeah.
You cut anyone that's gutted any animal with hair knows like 2 swipes over hair and you're fucking back on the steel. It's just awful shit. But yeah, I think proper knife care is big. Big.
I've been actually it might be, if people are interested, there's a fella DP Custom Knives or DP Knives or something like that.
Who's that?
He's on Instagram. He's a Australian knife maker. Very, very good quality knives. Like he's won a heap of awards in Sydney Knife Show and stuff like that. And he put me on these stones. Shapton is the brand, Shapton Ceramics. And I bought a 320 grit, 1,000 grit, 3,000 grit, and a 5,000 grit stone. And like for a pleb like me, it's easy. Like you don't have to soak them in water for long. You basically just give them a rinse, put a bit of water on them, and then off you go. And they produce like fantastic results.
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm still learning. Like I think the difficulty with sharpening a knife on stones is to actually get like the right angle.
Well, the same as I think it's I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like 30 something degrees for a general line of like an average is 30 something degrees. And stoning a knife is the same as like sanding something. You start on your heavy grit and you work down to the lightest possible. But I think the softer the knife, the lighter you start on the grit.
Yeah. Like I got a lot of VG10 stainless knives. Where the core, like VG10's quite I guess what people call a hard knife, or and they can be difficult to sharpen. But I'll normally inspect the edge before I, decide what stone I'm going to use. And I very rarely use the 320 grit unless I'm back beveling. So I'm bringing it back and then recreating that edge again. And then I'll use the 320 grit. But most of the time I start off at the 1,000 and work through to the 5,000 and then do the old check if it cuts your hair test, which you can see I got a bit of hair missing on the arm from that.
You're an anal cunt like that.
Yeah, I like to. If you do it once, you do it right.
Chris? Looking a bit stiff there, bruz.
It's like a reindeer.
What do you reckon, man? Wind her out?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to stop us on.
No, well, Chris left, so we can't go anymore.
Yeah, I don't feel inspired
is
anymore.
finished.
I've lost my inspiration.
Yeah,
now.
he's gone. So fuck.
I thought we were going to talk about Buffalo versus bloody Zoysia for a bit there, but
Oh, Buff's good, man. You just gotta get more of it. Make it fit itchy.
maybe we could do a Flow State Turfs podcast
he'd love
soon
that.
or
He'd
something.
love that.
This would be fucking funny. I should actually do it. We should just like a quick half-hour potty on
mate.
Chris's. Don't start it
I know
now.
a turf farmer in
I don't want to
Burdekin
either.
that might jump on, or what?
I might get a new following, like fucking Gardening Australia spec.
Yeah. Costa, mate.
Who?
Costa.
Costa.
Who's Costa?
The gnome. From Garden Australia.
You watched that shit? I was doing it as a joke. You people are fucked.
Like the Rex Hunt.
This is what I'm looking forward to when I buy a
He's the
fucking
Rex Hunt
house.
of gardening.
Yeah.
Listen to me. When I buy a house, you're gonna have to come mow my lawn.
No. I'll get you onto the right shit. You won't have to.
Wait,
run as
listen to me.
much.
I'm not gonna be mowing my lawn, man.
You don't do it as it is.
He'll use a
I know.
slasher.
Basically, I'm just gonna poison it or astroturf
Liquid whippersnipper.
and just go on mad sends. It's basically what I'm about.
Mate, I'll get you with a real mower. Google that.
I got a Briggs and Stratton.
No, you want a real one. You know how the football field's all.
the
I
crisscross.
hope people can hear this fucking shit. I'm going. I've had enough.
Just move this button.
Go on, get. What do you reckon? We'll round it out.
CK48. Good.
CK48.
Yeah. Crop King.
Crop King.
Get out of here, you cunt. Fuck this. I've just lost my mood. Wait, we forgot to ask. I asked a question on Instagram stories about Santa Tech, and we forgot to answer the questions. And now Chris is sending me fucking videos properly. You miss those just trolling me flat out. How do you fill it a cod?
You don't, you release it.
Dead. I fucking hate cod. They actually don't taste that bad.
When they're all head. They don't have much recovery on them. But I heard actually a bit off topic, but I heard a theory from an old fisho that if you catch a big gold spot on a particular fishing spot, that you should, you can get those things to deflate them up.
Yeah, like up under the armpit, like
I'm
up
trying to
under
remember
the pec fin.
the real name for it, but anyway.
They're like a spike with a cylinder in it, and you put it under their behind their pec fin, and it just deflates the air. If their stomach hasn't ruptured out there, if their stomach hasn't ruptured out of their mouth, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
If their stomach's ruptured out of their mouth, they're basically fucked.
Yeah, a lot of the isolated stuff I fish, you get a big gold spot every now and then. But they reckon if you can release the gold spot back onto that rock, they actually stop like the smaller shit fish from populating it. I don't know how true it is, but I release them. But yeah, smaller ones aren't too bad, but I think anything over 65 centimetres. But just the yield, like they're all head.
Oily dogs.
And slimy. My God, if anyone wants to keep one of them, I'll make them fillet it.
And stink.
Yeah.
Here's another one she sent us. Is that coffee or homebrew in the cup? 100% homebrew.
I was going to say coffee so I don't get in trouble when I go home and I'm half lit. But
How much is left in the fucking full bottle of Rumbos?
we've touched it up.
We'll give her a nudge.
Yeah, we've given it a good nudge.
May as well. Righto. Matthew Randall asks, best sounder you have used? I know the answer, but shoot it.
I've used a lot, but I just think and I'm not sponsored in any stretch. I'm actually a bit of a technophobe when it comes to, I only really have Instagram and that's it. But I definitely find the Simrad's the easiest to use. Lowrance is pretty good too. It's similar firmware.
So you've got your specific blue water sounders, like we're talking Fironos and stuff. Simrad's obviously a more universal sounder. Do you prefer that? You do a bit of everything. That's the difference, I guess. If you had just a game boat and just a deep blue water boat, would you just have a Firono and a separate GPS unit, or would you incorporate the both? What's the geo?
I don't know. Like I feel like sounders are a sort of thing where you can get used to them, and it probably will answer one of the later questions that we got in here to answer. But I mean, if you can learn how to read and operate a sounder to the best of your ability, you can use any brand you want.
Yeah.
But like my personal opinion is that from user functionality and I guess the results you get from being able to use it correctly, like I've had the best results from my Simrad.
Yeah.
And obviously, like it's not just the sounder. Like to give you a bit of an idea, I've actually put a Lowrance HDS 12 Gen 3 carbon or whatever it was in my boat and just changed the power cable, connected it to the same AMR P66 and LSS2 transducer. And I still read at speed and everything was fantastic. Like it was no different to my Simrad.
So is it transducer or the head, like on a scale of 50-50 being even, transducer head unit, what is it basically? Like what would you spend your money on if you had X amount of dollars?
Well, so, it'd have to be 50-50, I think, because if you put your transducer in a shit spot, you can go and buy a Raymarine top-of-the-line sounder or Furuno top-of-the-line commercial sounder and you'll still get shit results. Like transducer.
So transducer is, hypothetically, you place it in the right spot. It's hypothetically it's spot on, and hypothetically that cable at the end that plugs into your head unit is universal, right?
Yeah.
What would you spend your money on more so?
Well, because I've been using Simrad for a long time, it'd be Simrad again because I'm used to the Simrad. But, you know, I think every brand...
You'd go AMR, 100%?
I love the AMR stuff, like, and the instructions that they come with are so good for installation. And I think a lot of people dismiss that. Like, a lot of people like to grab the instruction booklet and chuck it in the bin like you have with your recording equipment.
I'm still winging this motherfucker.
Yeah, you're still trying to work out how to use it. But with the AMR stuff, like, it's so, like, yeah, everything that they've got in there is perfect. Like, it's down to the millimeter. If you follow the instructions, you will be most likely to get the results. You know, like I think I was talking to you about it off air, where I'd installed that sounder and I went 38 millimeters exactly from the left hand corner.
No, I think that's on here, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's on here, but yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Either way, yeah, that, you know, I did it to the T, and yeah, it was a much better result than what that guy had with his original Garmin. But we just needed to shift it down a couple of millimeters.
In my opinion, I haven't owned any big blue water specific boats. I do a lot of everything, and I found that Simrad are the best universal sounders you can buy because they're so compatible with all of your MR tech shit, and the GPS is really fast, responsive, and spot on. You can get C maps, you can get navionics. And yeah, they're just like, I don't know, I can fish for barra and see barra, and I can fish blue water and see what I need to see blue water. And that's like, I don't know, Simrad are the top of the line for those universal top sounders for me. I've been in boats that have used the Lowrance Live, and their structure and side scan are fucking next level, but I haven't been in one of those boats that have used it blue water, so I can't answer that. I would buy a Simrad over a Humminbird for a universal sounder for people who do a bit of everything, who have one of those sort of 5.5, 6 metre boats that go to the reef, that go up creeks, that do all that. 100% Simrad. If you are just chasing estuarine species, specifically like your barra stuff and that, I would buy a Humminbird.
I agree with that. And I mean, there's guys I know that use Humminbird and get really good results offshore, and that's where it comes down to how confident you are using your unit.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say for an all-rounder unit, like my boat's set up from, you know, running crab pots up in creeks where it's just about ripping the canopy off it to, you know, 65 Ks offshore on the shelf. Like it's a versatile boat. And I've not come across a situation where I can't use it. And all I'm using on my boat is an old LSS2 structure scan transducer.
You got Evo 2A12.
Evo 212, yeah. It's dated now, but I still, like, because I know how to use it, I know how to get the results.
And I think your sounder settings and your transducer placement is key. And don't take this as gospel, and don't send me messages fucking fighting with me, because I haven't seen it all. I'm just going on my personal opinion, so don't just bite back, because fuck, I hate that shit.
There's a million different scenarios, and you can never cover them all off. But yeah, from personal experience, like I said, I'm not sponsored or anything like that by Simrad, but I went with Simrad purely because I thought the finish, like I've had issues with Lowrance in the past where, because I do a lot of diving, I'd have wet gloves on my wetsuit and I would press the, zoom in or zoom out or whatever, and I got water ingress through there and it stuffed the sounder, and I went, nah, I don't want to deal with that anymore. And I think the finish was better on the Simrad.
So once bitten, twice shy shit, which is weird because, like, I think, like, similar, the Simrad Evo 3 and the Lowrance Live are borderline on par. Like, I think that because they're both made by Navico, but they're both made by Navico.
Navico's like the supplier. I think.
Anyway, they're both made in the same factory. I'm wondering if Simrad are going to step into a more blue water scene, and Lowrance are going to start targeting that high-end estuarine scene, lake scene, because we all know they're American. But I wonder if that's the case, because they're very similar priced, the Evo 3 and the Lowrance Live. So I wonder if they're going to, like, separate those into different sort of niches,
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I think it's just a fact of that, like, although the companies run off a similar sort of, user interface and all that sort of thing, I think that Lowrance has just got the leg up on Simrad at the moment with, they've just released this live model and, Simrad will probably release something that'll be better than that next. So it's people will be buying whatever's the newest and
There's
best.
a question about that on here, but I'll go to this one first. D. Walker, have you guys tried the new C maps?
Yeah, I actually had to play with it.
I haven't, but you have.
Yeah, I put it in my Evo too. I was actually sceptical whether it would run with
What is it first? Explain what that is.
CMAP Reveal, they've released like bathymetry. I think that's the right way that you pronounce it, bathymetry. That shows...
Which is bottom mapping.
Bottom mapping, yeah. And look, the thing is, you got to think, when you look at these products, you need to know what resolution it is. And I couldn't find the actual resolution of the CMAP charts, like whether it's 10 meters, 30 meters, 50 meters, whatever. But I had to play with it. It worked fine on my Evo 2. It wasn't like, lagging or anything like that, which is what I was expecting. But yeah, it's pretty good. Like if you want to have a look at things offshore, it's pretty, like, to me, if I had two sounders, I'd have one with the CMAP charts and one with Navionics.
Yep.
And I think if you don't have the money to go CMAPs, Navionics is fine too. Like,
I use Navionics, so word of advice to everyone is if you're doing coastal and blue water shit, buy Navionics on your phone, because you can have your shit running on your main sounder and run Navionics on your phone, and it gives you 10 times more detail. And there's probably a fair few mates here that are going to cream me for saying that, but it's true.
And it's funny, I've actually, a few of my mates didn't know, like, when you go into your options, so if you press, like, on your sounder, the chart, so that screen is selected, and then you go into your, the top right-hand corner, I don't know, this is for Simrad, of course, but that you can see, your options for the chart, and you can change, like, what you see and what you don't, blah, blah, blah. But on some of the older firmware versions, if you haven't upgraded, if you want to see the sonar chart, it's called Fish and Chips, and it's in chart options. It's a stupid name, but I think on mine it's actually called Sonar Chart because I've got the newer firmware that I've updated to. But yeah, like, you can get that, but I think the phone actually has some Navionics Platinum stuff now where it actually overlays the Google Earth or something on top of the reefs and stuff.
If you've got Navionics Platinum too, if you've got a Platinum card, it does Google Earth image overlay, and that is like pinnacle of fishing coastal creeks and shit like that.
Yeah, well, you know, the CMAP Reveal actually has that too. They've got a Google Maps overlay.
Yep.
If I were to put, like, because I think you can get the CMAPs one for between about $360 to $400, I've heard at the moment, people buying it for. And I think when you compare what you get from Platinum compared to CMAPs, I preferred the CMAPs Reveal.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, like, it's a smaller area, I think, which you're purchasing, but I actually preferred that. But in all honesty, like, if you are purely reef fishing, yeah, it's probably good. But the resolution doesn't seem to be fantastic on it. Like, so I probably wouldn't take it as
in like zoom right in tight.
Yeah,
shit.
I was sort of hoping that I would be able to like cruise up into inside of a reef and use that as like a bit of a guide to avoid, like, you know, big
sketchy bits and find isolated bombers and stuff for diving.
I thought that's what I would use it for, but I probably wouldn't. Like, I think if anything, if I were to buy CMAP Reveal, it would be to just look at those little changes in the bottom, like the stuff that's super obvious I'm suspect on, but the things where you see like there might be a slight rise, like a ridge or something, those sorts of things I reckon would be worth investigating. And that's what I found really interesting. And particularly like if you fish a shelf, the imagery along there looked pretty good. And I think that the resolution might be even a touch better.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, either way, it's really good that it's at a competitive price point. And I think, you know, people will start to, you know, get some results from it. It's good to see some sort of 3D mapping. But you just got to remember that the mapping that they're using here, I can't quote this whether it's, you know, legit, but from what I understand, it hasn't been done in Australia yet, but this isn't done with a plane or a boat. This is purely modelling.
Yeah.
So it's not like it might be using satellite imagery or whatever, but it's using modelling to create these maps.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff there.
CMAPs is American as fuck.
That's right. Yeah. I think Insight Genesis or CMAPs maybe, I don't know. They do one in America where they've actually mapped it with a boat, and it is ridiculous. Like there's wrecks and stuff they've found and all sorts of shit.
The shit that AIMS have done off the territory specifically for benthic mapping is insane. So you can use it, like these sounders like basically shouldn't be in the water with them because the sound's like that hectic, like the sound waves. You're penetrating through meters of mud and sediment and hitting hard bottom to find shit. Wow. It's insane, man. Like World War wrecks and all sorts of mad shit.
That'd probably be like $20,000 to $30,000 worth of transducer getting towed behind like a torpedo or something like that.
And the rest. No, it's in house. It's like we had one on one of our work boats there. It's basically two transducer heads, and I'm not going to quote it, but it was in excess of $100,000. It's two transducer heads off of a big pole, and you just drive around along transects and you map the bottom, hard bottom, so you're not taking into account any sediment, any soft shit, hard bottom only. Yeah, it's insane. Just driving up, back, doing grid lines. And like a lot of places got mapped. All the shallow water stuff got mapped out of a trailerable boat with one of those systems, and then a larger type of that system got mapped out of our big boat, 34 metre vessel. Yeah, it's pretty fucking hectic shit. Right, two more. Hummingbird or Garmin, which is a hard one because are we talking Garmin? So this is from Michael Lang. So are we talking Hummingbird versus Garmin, like Hummingbird Mega versus Garmin LiveScope, or are we talking Hummingbird versus Garmin Structure Scan?
Well, if we take it as just a general question.
Yep.
If I had a tinny that I used just in creeks and dam fishing and all that sort of thing, I'd probably go Hummingbird. If I had a boat that was inshore, offshore, probably go Garmin if I only had to choose between the two. That's just my opinion. I think like Hummingbird, like you were mentioning earlier, I think the GPS is a little bit, it's not up to scratch with some of the others. It's not bad, but it's not, I don't think it's at quite the level of some of the other competitors. But certainly their side imaging stuff. I've only been in a few boats that have got the mega side imaging, and it is amazing, like the clarity you get out of that. So obviously clean water applications would be much better than if you've got probably in the territory where you've got stupendous amounts of run. It's a different story, but I think anywhere along the East Coast we don't really have huge tides. Maybe if you go a bit further south like Mackay, perhaps it might get a bit dirty in the creeks, but I think they're fantastic for that. And there's, like I said, there's people I know that are using it offshore and having good results, but the Garmin certainly has proven itself in the offshore environment. I've got a number of mates who, they really love their Garmin gear. I find that the usability of it, you got to go through an extra 2 or 3 menus that you'd normally have to with a Simrad or a Lowrance or something to do the same task. And that you got to factor that in. If you're used to it, it doesn't matter. But that's one thing I noticed different coming from.
I fucking hate clicking further than what I have to, and I hate reading shit.
Yeah, well, a mate of mine had Hummingbird to start with, and he had the Hummingbird connected with his Minn Kota. Yeah. And, the feature of being able to say, Minn Kota, go to this mark on my sounder seems like, how cool would that be? But he had to go through, I don't know how many menus to get the Minn Kota to get the signal to say, go to mark, 086 or whatever it was. And I just thought, man, that's a lot of effort. I probably could have spot locked over this thing by just pressing the anchor thing on my motor guide in the same period of time. Yeah. So, I didn't think that it was it was a lot of money for something like a feature that was probably not, it was a nice to have, but not a must have. And that's what I always consider with these things. There's a lot of stuff that they market that are nice to haves, but are they a must have? You can spend a lot of money on extra gear, and they might just be those 1%ers that don't really make much of a difference down the track. But I guess my final answer would be depends on the application. But if I had a boat, I'd be putting a Hummingbird on an inshore creek boat and a Garmin on a offshore inshore boat sort of thing.
Yep, makes sense. Final one. Let's talk. Can I, MR and standard transducers are chalk and cheese, but what can I do to, basic tips and tricks, what can I do to get my standard transducer, whether it be sonar, whether it be structure scan, to achieve the best results for a general purpose application?
The big thing that influences sounder reading is how clean your hull is. And what I mean by clean is how much, bubbles or whatever get forced under the hull. Whether that's by the shape or, in your instance, Wade, where you've got that pickup and that's right beside your through hull. Yeah, and that's basically, fucked your reading of your sounder unless you list it enough that it pushes the bubble trail away. So, number one you need to consider is where to mount it on your hull. So take your boat for a run, hang off the back and have a look at where the cleanest water is. So you're looking for, where your transom ends on your boat, that there's no bubbles. You can see water with no bubbles flowing past the transom. You've also got to take into account how close you will be to your engine. So obviously with the prop, you've got to think your prop is spinning and it's going to be creating, bubbles and whatnot. So I know with mine, if I go full lock so that my prop is in the direction of where my transducers are, I get this big bubbly looking thing on the sounder as I'm turning, and it looks a bit like your freshwater thing on the wonkies, which I don't know whether that's what it is sometimes, but I know I get that sort of thing, and that's just the nature of how far away my transducers are when I'm on full lock. But I always go on this, I put the transducers on the side where the prop is pulling down. So you don't want it so that the prop is flicking the bubbles up towards your transducer.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that's a big thing. So that'll be for anyone with a single prop boat, which will be 99% of us. That'll be your right-hand side when you're looking at the transom of the boat. And the other thing is just like the shape of the transducer. Like some of these cheaper transducers aren't very, what I would call aerodynamic or whatever it would be for water. So when they're pushing through the water, they might actually churn up bubbles, and depending on the depth that they are below the transom, they might create bubbles or whatever. And I like to actually have the transducer quite low so that it's actually pushing into the water below the hull, and you'll need a splash plate over it, otherwise you'll be making these huge rooster tails behind the boat. But I like to have it a bit lower below the hull, about 20 to 30 mil on average, just so that you're forcing it into that clean water in that area. And so there's like, if you buy one of those transducers and it doesn't come with a pamphlet like the Airmar ones say as to how to mount it and all of the things, like, you can, if you've got an aluminium boat, you've probably got a bit more flexibility. You can adjust the height and whatever. But definitely, like, once you've mounted it, take it for a run, get it sounding at, 4 to 6 knots, see how it reads. If it's reading good, fantastic. Get on the plane and then, turn left, turn right, and see if that changes the way that it reads, and that might determine your positioning on the hull. And this is all stuff in the Airmar pamphlet too. It's pretty straightforward. But and then you got to factor in, like, if you've got more weight on the nose or more weight on the transom to see if that makes a difference. And if you can't do that, just do speed. Like, if you slow down, it'll sit the arse in the water a bit more, and then you'll know if it's reading better at slower speeds. That probably means that it's sitting in more and it's not getting as much dirty water under the hull. Yep. But some hulls, it's impossible to get a good read because they're just like a flat bottom punt. I haven't been in one of them that reads quite well because they just seem to have, like, they suck a lot of water. Yeah. So some of the boats with bigger dead risers can be problematic as well, and that's why the through hulls seem to be the way to go. But I mean, if you look at, like, I bought the P66, a mate of mine at BCF who was working there said, look, give it a crack. At that time, it was the same price as a normal Lowrance WSDL or whatever they are. And they're only about $350, I think, for a P66. Yep. And I know the shape of them, like, I've had a lot of successes actually, putting P66s on transoms and getting really good reads. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with, like, the beam angle too. Like, you can buy a cheap sounder, but you need to look at, how many watts it is, what's your beam angle at particular kilohertz, and then understand how to use it. Like, there's ways around it, but there's a lot of things you've got to consider, and it's probably a podcast in itself almost.
We could probably get down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of things, and it's a lot of trial and error too. Like, I'm no expert. I've done a lot of transducer installs and mucked around with them and got.
Putting the cunts in level is half the drama.
That is the
put the fucking thing in level with, and I mean, put your boat on the, like, back your boat in your garage or whatever you're doing. Put a level on the fucking gunnels and level on the transom. Match that with your transducer so it is the same level as your boat.
That's
for Christ's sake.
That's critical, because all you need is a slight tilt. Yeah. And you're going to change the way that the transducer picks up. And you got to think about it too, like your angle as well. Like, some of them, like the Airmar ones, traditionally come with a spacer or something. So you can adjust it. And of course, it depends on your dead rise. Sometimes I recommend to use a spacer if you've got a dead rise between X and Y. Or if you have an dead rise between Y and Z, use the spacer in this fashion or whatever. So, you got to think about the angle that particular transducer is sitting on. Like, parallel is what you just naturally think is perfect, but some boats it actually needs to be slightly angled forward because of the way that the hull rides. So there's so many factors in there.
You start at that neutral sort of measurements and levels and everything, and then you just slowly adjust. Is what I found is best. And I'm still no guru, but I've got mine reading pretty good. Like, my structure scan reads at speed.
Yeah, that's
like I can't
with mine. It's too close to the prop. I get too much dirty water. If it's flat, mine reads okay, but only to one side. And that's another little trick too. I don't know, like most people probably know this, but if you want to get your structure scan reading better on both sides, when you're going slow, trim your engine up.
Yeah.
Sometimes one side will look darker than the other, and that's because
your props
in the
down.
road. Trim your bloody engine up a bit. Like sometimes it only has to be a little bit, and then all of a sudden you can read.
Yeah.
I have to do it in my boat, so
yeah.
There's
a bit in it, man. But that answers basically all those questions. Oh, Chris wanted to know chicken crimpies or pizza shapes. I'm going to ask this stupid fucking shit. It's not on my podcast. It's on his Composite Community podcast.
I'm going to have to go chicken crimpies.
You're fucking kidding me, you people.
Pizza shapes maybe 5 years ago, but I reckon they've backed off on the flavour on them.
You people
like
make me fucking
now.
crook, you and your lawns and your fucking chicken crimpies.
You're a pizza shape boy, are you?
Heavy.
Through and through. Oh.
Heavy. There's not much better.
Maybe bacon and cheese. If you'd said bacon and
that's
cheese.
fine. That's fine. As long as it's better than chicken crimpies. They definitely are. I'd eat pizzas in this order, right? Pizza shapes, barbecue, the pink cunts, which is what you just said, bacon and cheese. The yellow ones, that's cheddar, and then chicken crimpies. And I don't think there's any others.
I tell you what, we are answering the big questions here on Flow State Productions.
Fucking what?
Only the big questions.
I'm going to try your missus next podcast.
Yeah, go for it.
Righto, we're out of here now. Thanks again, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.